Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Lion's Den. I'm Matt McKinney, founder of Coraleo Advisors, and I'm here with Josh Howard, another founder of Coraleo Advisors. And we're going to talk to you a little bit about the difference between a SEPA advisor and an M&A advisor. And when I say SEPA, I mean Certified Exit Planning Advisor versus a Mergers and Acquisitions Advisor. So, Josh, talk to me a little bit about what you think some of the differences are between the two.
Well, Matt, I love your questions. I never know what kind of questions you're going to ask. Today, another exciting topic, for us to talk about. The SEPA, Certified Exit Planning Advisor, SEPA for short, is something that is really unique in the industry. Right. And the reason why it's unique is that it looks at each client holistically, I would say. It's not just focused on the transaction, like how do I get the most money for selling my business? Or it's not just thinking about, the legal side of the transaction. It's not just thinking about, okay, how do I, defer taxes or, limit my tax liability or, it's looking at all of these holistically, including family transitions and these other things. And so first off, I would say a SEPA and the role of a SEPA and they're trained to do is to look at a client and a transaction and the exit process holistically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's huge. Very oftentimes an M&A advisor is sitting on the opposite side of the table, right? They're saying, what are we going to do to prepare this business for sale? How can we get it sold as quickly as possible, right? And then how can I get my fee?
Yeah.
A SEPA framework is they sit on the same side of the table as you. They say, what are your goals and objectives? What do you want to accomplish, both financially and familially? And the goals can be different. The highest price is not always the number one goal for a business owner, right?
Sure.
Could be maintaining their employees and so on and so forth. But I think that's a big shift. One is focused on a transaction. The other is focused on sitting on the same side of the table, trying to better understand the goals and objectives of the owner so that they can ultimately live a life that they only dreamed of. And the only ways they're going to be able to get to their dreams is typically through a healthy, successful exit. But we know, Josh, it's extraordinarily difficult to have those things because stats are telling us it's 2% of people that actually get to that point where they're happy with the transition and things worked out the way they expected it to.
That's true.
So, Josh, what are some other differences as you think about M&A advisory versus, let's say, maybe what a SEPA advisor would do for a client?
Yeah. So the role of an M&A advisor is to take the company to market and to sell it. I mean,
Which is very useful, by the way.
yes, it's a necessary process, part of the process,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And to really drive the highest and best price, I would say as well, right?
Yeah.
And there really isn't an opportunity for an M&A advisor to prepare the company, though, to help the company really get to the highest and best value. All the role of the M&A advisor and the time frame of an M&A advisor in their work is to just drive the highest and best price through a competitive process.
Yeah.
Um, However, a SEPA is the role of a SEPA in the framework of a SEPA, as well as the systems that are used with a SEPA, is to help prepare the company through the owner readiness, through the business readiness, and through financial readiness, the business, all while growing the company and growing the value of the business, not just growing the top line number, not just the bottom line number, but growing the overall value of the business. And so the SEPA's role is to, again, holistically, but focus in these three areas of owner readiness, business readiness, financial readiness, and to walk the client through that process in a very structured way while driving value to the business, not just growth.
Yeah. And I think from a SEPA advisor perspective, an ideal time frame for a SEPA advisor to prepare the business, prepare the family or the owner, and to help them achieve ultimately the results they want is 3 to 5 years. It's not something that, very oftentimes we have business owners come to us, they go, okay, well, I want to sell in the next 6 months. Probably not the best plan.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing is, wouldn't you want to go through a pre-due diligence process before you actually hit diligence with an outside
Absolutely.
company? We've had customers come to us And they said, "Oh, we failed LOIs like 3 or 4 times." We're like, "Well, why are you even taking it to market? What's going on?" LOI, a letter of intent. They got to the letter of intent. They started doing diligence. Boom, the thing blew up. So they feel really excited about the number that somebody writes on a piece of paper, but they didn't do any diligence beforehand. So when that company, they lift the lid up, they go, "Oh, no, 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 we don't want this." Right? Like, "Ooh, your baby's ugly. We don't want this." And they get upset about it. And so the question was, well, have you ever done any pre-due diligence on your business? Have you ever had an outside potential buyer or advisor look at your business to evaluate, hey, what are the holes in this thing? Right? And if I'm a buyer looking at this, what are the risks to me as a buyer? Wouldn't I want to know that before I get into take it to market? Sure, you would. And then, by the way, these things don't get fixed overnight. So we could find a lot of problems. You say, "Oh, I want to sell in 6 months." Well, we can't fix those problems in 6 months. I can't fix and reorganize the financials in 6 months. I can't fix all the
No,
contracts that need to, the groundwork that needs to be laid on these contracts.
no,
So, so I think it's really, really important to work with a SEPA advisor ahead of time so you can maximize value. I think you have a great story on a services-based company that ended up working with you and going through this sort of process, and they had a great result, right, Josh?
yeah, they did. And the one of the roles of a SEPA, and we'll say is you're not just going to include one SEPA on a transaction. A lot of times, right? You're going to have different roles inside of a transaction.
Yes.
Right? We're going to need legal support. We're going to need M&A support. We're going to need tax support. We may need an accountant.
Yeah.
We may need help with family planner, right?
Yeah.
We're going to need wealth manager,
Yeah.
right? We're going to need these different roles. And in each one of these roles, there are SEPAs out there that have all been certified exit planning advisors that can work together. They
Yeah.
know how to work together in a way to bring the most value to a client at the end of the day.
I think it's about alignment,
It's
right?
alignment.
It's
That's right.
alignment of a process, right? Very oftentimes when we get in transactions and you have an estate planning attorney, a wealth manager, you have a business attorney, you have an M&A broker. None of them are swimming in the same direction. They're all swimming on their own path. There's no project management. And I think it's very, very difficult for a business owner to run their business and project manage the exit.
It's true.
And something's going to have to suffer,
That's
right?
right.
Usually what ends up happening is the business suffers because they're trying to project manage this thing that they've never done before. And so one of the things that I think is unique and different about the SEPA approach in general is that it allows everybody to be running on the same track. Here is the process. Here's how we understand the process. Here's how everybody understands the process. And then hiring some sort of consultative body that all works with SEPAs, right? That can organize your process, maintain the project management flow, and ultimately will increase your timeline for success. But you have to make sure that I think everybody is swimming in the same direction, and very oftentimes they're not.
That's true. Yeah, and so, you asked me to talk about a story,
Yeah.
and, but I'd love to just tell, like, my story
Yeah,
before
that's
being a
good.
SEPA, because, my own experience was, selling a business and hiring a internationally well-known firm to walk through this process, and thinking that by hiring this M&A advisor that was really well known, would just handle everything I needed to
Lots of
handle.
experience,
Yeah,
right?
lots of experience. It's a huge investment bank,
Yeah.
well known,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so I thought that they were going to take me to the promised land,
Right, sure.
right?
They got all this
Uh,
experience, they should be able to help you.
right. And so we didn't really walk through a process of just preparing the company. It was more just say, we're going to take you to market. We're going to provide a marketing document. We're going to get the buyers, and we're going to go to market. I mean, that was the process. That was the plan. And yes, they said that we're going to sell your company, and but give us $50,000, and then on the
Yeah.
backside we get our fee, and we're going to take you down this road.
Yep.
Well, I get in 6 months, and we really don't have any solid offers, right? And so I needed to take the step into the role of that advisor, because I needed to sell my business.
Yeah.
I'd already committed to do it.
Yeah.
And so I had to step into that role, and take the company to market, find the buyers, manage the process, work with the lawyers, work with the accountants, work with all of these different people. And man, if I didn't have other people alongside of me, like my partners in the business, there was no way we could have gone through that process,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, it's if I had a SEPA, we probably would have found out some things a little bit sooner too,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We went to market without knowing that some of our financials were a little bit different than what we thought they were.
Sure.
And so once a QOV was done by the buyer, it kind of revealed some of these things. And so if we would have worked with a SEPA through this process, I think we would have been much better prepared.
Yeah.
And so, after that and starting and working in the M&A advisory space, when I found out of what a certified exit planning advisor was, you called me. You're like, hey, along with Kevin, our other partner, and said, hey, have you thought about being a SEPA? I'm like, a what?
Yeah. Sure.
And we described what a SEPA did. I said, that's exactly what all my clients need.
Yeah.
Before going to market, preparing the business on the preparing the owner, preparing the financials, all of those things. And with the service-based company we're talking about, what we found is that the company it had some buyers that were just eager to buy the company. It was just the right business, the right geography, the right time, and so there was interest. Right. And the first offer that the company got before including an advisor.
So this is a service-based business. This isn't your business,
No,
right? This is a
yeah,
different one, right?
yeah. And so
Make sure.
there was and so this business had interest,
Mhm.
right? And so they said, wow, we have an LOI. Like, hey, we've got the company sold.
Perfect.
Right. We're going to sell it. But then what was revealed just right after that, as more financial information and other things was given, was that, oh, wait a second, there's some risk here, there's some problems here, and so the actual offer ended up being a 50% earnout
Oh,
because of it, because of this risk.
right. Way over the average of 10 to
Way
20%.
Yeah, way over the average,
Yeah.
right? And so this company just wasn't ready to exit. They weren't planning on exiting. They had an offer, and so that's the part where we talk about where exit planning is just good business planning.
Yeah.
And so if this business would have been just exit planning along the way,
Yeah.
and not even having a exit on the horizon, everyone's going to have to exit, and 50% of the time we know that it happens not by the owner's choice.
Yeah.
Right. But if I'm just business planning well, then I'm going to be exit planning well.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And it's going to grow the business and grow the value of the business, even
Yeah.
more importantly. And so if one of the 5 Ds happen, which happen 50% of the time, where you are forced into an exit, then you're ready. The company's ready.
Yeah.
And
So keep on the track with so how to turn out. So you had you have the services-based business. They come in with the LOI. The LOI you said came in 50% was earnout.
yeah.
Then how did you help them?
Well, there was a little bit of negotiation,
Yeah.
and the realization is that the company just wasn't ready.
Okay.
The company wasn't ready. It wasn't ready financially,
Yeah.
right? We really need to work on the financials of the business. And so talked with the client and told them, hey, we know we have offers right now, but let's take the business off the market, right?
Were they happy about that?
No.
They were like,
Because
"Hey, it's 10, it's 10 million. It's more money than they ever had."
Right. They weren't necessarily happy with it,
Yeah.
but the realization was, I don't think we would have made it to due diligence.
I see.
There would have been another retrade.
Okay.
Right. And so we needed to work on the financials. The financials were not real gap compliant. There were some problems with inventory and other things. And so what we did is we took the company off the market, and we worked on the business around the financials, restructured the financials,
Mhm.
went back for the last 3 years, made sure they were really clean,
Yeah.
ready to go. Then took the company back out to market in a process that drove the highest and best value.
Gotcha. And how much long? What was the time
That's
frame?
about 18 months.
18 months.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what did they sell for?
They sold for $25 million.
25 million.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So 120. What was it, 125% higher or whatever that was, or something like that.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like 10 million. I mean, that's
Yeah.
250%.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was a situation where the right decision was to really pull back, right, and instead of move forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how much of that was earnout though? Because you told me the first deal was 50% earnout, right?
Yeah. So the earnout was $2 million.
$2 million.
Yeah.
So
20
10%,
Yeah.
ballpark 10% earnout and 250% more.
That's right.
That sounds like that was worth it. I bet you those people like you.
They like me. Yeah,
I
yeah.
like you too. I think
We're close, and